It's time for another Dice Tower review with Tim Jennette.
Hey everyone, this is Tim Jennette, the Metal Meeple, and in this video we're taking a look at Paramedics Clear by Smirk Dagger Games, published in 2017. It's for 1 to 4 players, takes about 30-40 minutes, and it was designed by Gary Kagan, illustrated by Eric Wilkerson, except for the patient cards. The little iconography on them was illustrated by Kuhn Legon. Now, Paramedics Clear is a real-time game where you have basically a minute on your turn, and in later rounds you get 45 seconds, then 30 seconds to try to do as much as you can on your turn to save as many people, because you're driving around this ambulance trying to get medical supplies together and treat the wounds of the people you run into. So let me show you how the game plays. I'll give you an example of it being played live, and then we'll come back and I'll tell you what I think. So here we have the layout for Paramedics Clear. There's going to be a supply deck with 5 cards laid out, and then a patient's deck. Now all this is going to be kind of in the middle of all the players, not just above your board. This is your player board. You have all the tokens for the different medical needs that the patients will need. So these are supplies that you can purchase. You have 2 medical cabinets that you start with. Each one can hold 1 of these tokens. Then you have 4 upgrade slots that you can buy the upgrade tokens up here to put there. You have a main gurney and a backup gurney, and we're going to get to that. But the difference between the 4 player boards is simply the medical supply cards needed to buy the supply. To buy blood, you would need 2 greens for this player board, whereas you can see on this one you would need 2 yellow. The first 3 are always 2 cards, this one's 1 card, and the last 2 is either or. So you can choose yellow or purple to buy the cast. Now, this game is a real-time game, so you're going to have 1 minute. You can see on this timer over here, the Paramedics Clear app that comes, you can download it from the app stores. You have 60 seconds to do your turn. Each player is going to have 60 seconds. And at the end of the round's going to end whenever this deck is fully depleted, the supply deck. Then you're going to shuffle all those back up, start a new round with 45 seconds, and then same thing, once it's depleted, you're going to do a final phase of the game with 30 seconds each player turn. So it's going to be hectic and stressful, but it's not too bad. So each player is going to start with 5 supply cards. On top of that, you're going to get 2 patients. One of your patients you're going to choose and put face up in your main gurney. Well, everybody puts them face down and reveals them, and then the second card you're going to face down on the backup gurney of the player to your left. So you're going to start like this. Now, we know what supplies we have, and at least our main gurney patient's needs. In this case, we need to put these 4 tokens on him to send him to the hospital on the right side of our board. If he dies, he's going to go on the left side of our board and worth negative points. So we don't want that to happen. But knowing that our patient and our supply cards we start off with, we're going to at least get to start with 2 of these supplies in our medical cabinets. Since oxygen is one of the required tokens on this guy, we're going to start with that. And maybe we'll start with blood, because I don't have another blue card out here. There's one out here, but there's not a second one in my hand. So let's just start with blood. At that point, you're ready to begin. You're going to click the start button over here. We're not going to do it just yet. But when you hit start, you're going to start your turn, and there are no shortcuts to this game. Everything must be done, physically moved, and you must say everything. So in this case, we're going to start by saying Rescue 53 responding, and then we get to begin. The first thing that's going to happen is if our main gurney is empty, we're going to draw 2 cards. We're going to select one to put there. The other one's going to go face down on any other player's board. If they're all filled, we're going to discard that patient. But we're going to start with this one for now. The second thing that you do immediately is flip your backup gurney up. We see that we have a critical patient. They cannot be sustained. They must be fully medically attended to and turned into the hospital, or they will die. Then you're ready to begin the bulk of your turn. The first thing you can do is buy medical supplies, these tokens here, and either place them on your medical cabinets or place them directly to a card. In this case, we're going to spend these 2 purple to buy a syringe. You make your own discard pile wherever you want. We're going to put it over here. We bought a syringe. We put it on this guy. I like to put them on the actual symbols so I know what I've got covered. And he has been sustained. Now, this guy cannot be sustained, so he's probably a better choice. So we're actually going to put it on this guy. He needs pills as well. So we can look here and let's just say we didn't have this. We had it like this. We don't have a green. There's two ways you can get medical supply cards swapped. One, you can trade 1-for-1 with any card in the middle. Or you can call for assistance by holding up two cards and saying, I need a green, I need a green. Obviously, it'd be like this. I need a green, I need a green. You would trade those two cards to that one player. So they're going to get two cards, you only get one back. Either way, we spend a green, put that off to the side. We're going to get medical meds here, and we're going to put it on his card. When a card is fully attended to medically, all the needs have been met, they must be transported to the hospital. Now, when it's your backup gurney, that's it. These tokens just kind of go off to the side. If your main gurney ever goes to the hospital, they must immediately be replaced with the same process. Draw two, put one there. Some of the other things you can do on your turn is you can do upgrades. You can put cards in this upgrade slot. Once you start with a color, you have to commit to that color. So I could trade this for another orange, put that orange down here. You can buy upgrades, in which case I could spend these two orange because this medical cabinet and that medical cabinet cost 2. At the end of the game, they're also worth a victory point, so that's not bad. And then you can also, that's pretty much most of it. The last thing is I can also take this. I want to put it on him to sustain him, because if I don't, he will actually die. After you're done with your turn, you must stop the timer before it actually ends. If it flatlines, one of your patients will be sent to the morgue, and that's bad because at the end of the game, if they're in the morgue, they're worth this many negative points. If they're in your hospital, they're worth this many positive points. So you obviously want to save people. That's the whole point of the game. When you hit the stop button, you hit it again immediately, and it's going to begin the next player's turn. They have a 5-second window. During that window, you must straighten up this row right here. And then after they begin their turn, you can start straightening up your area by putting the tokens back where they went. You can discard your cards to the actual discard pile and draw up to your supply cards that you need. So in this case, I would draw 3 more. You're going to do that, like I said, until the supply deck runs out. Then you switch over, you reshuffle all these, make a new supply deck, start with 45 seconds, and you keep going until 3 phases of the game have passed, 60, 45, and 30. At the end, you're simply going to count up how many points you have in your hospital, minus how many points you have in your morgue for the toe tags. Then you get bonus points for all these upgrades except for the 6-card hand size. That is not worth anything. The medevac, however, is worth 2. The medevac, actually, when you buy it and it goes here, you can spend it to immediately send one of your guys to the hospital, no matter how much treating he has been done. So however many tokens, he can be completely blank, and you send him over. So key things, I'm going to show you one round at 60 seconds here in just a second, but it is worth noting that you want to treat these guys because at the end of your turn, they become untreated, and you have to treat them every single turn. If they're not treated by the end of your turn, they actually will die. And like I said, if you don't hit the timer and stop it, one of them will die as well. So it's kind of you might have 3 tokens on him, but you only have 10 seconds left in your turn. You don't want to put the 4th one on there if you won't have enough time to treat him or treat the next patient, because when you do the main gurney and he gets delivered, you got to immediately draw new ones and put him out there. So then you would have to sustain him before your turn is over. So let me kind of show you, well, last thing, there is a wild card. There's 4 of them in the deck. They can be used as any color. In addition to this, you can trade a wild for any 2 supply cards, or you can trade 2 supply cards for 1 wild that's in the supply deck. Otherwise, it just counts as 1 color. Let me show you how this goes here. Do 60 seconds, begin. Let's take our phone off mute.
Rescue squad confirm and depart.
Rescue 53 responding. We got a guy who was burnt in a book fire, and let's just say we had a drill press accident over here. In this case, we need to sustain him, so let's spin this oxygen from our med kit. We didn't have this. He gets sustained. We need to sustain this guy as well. He does need some blood, so let's put that on him. Let's see if we can actually cure some guys here. We got 2 purples, so we're going to buy a syringe to put on him. We have a green, sure. We'll just put the green out here, and then we need a red or an orange. We do have an orange. We'll buy that. He is sent to the hospital. Let's say he was our guy that was in our main gurney. We then have to draw a new two cards here. I don't really want to mess with this one maybe because I only have 1 card left. Actually, I do. No, I don't. Let's put this guy here. He will get sent to somebody else. Now, we need to get some meds. I don't have a green card. Bandage, I would swap this for yellow. Buy this, put it here, tap him, and stop the timer before the end. Otherwise, if I would have let that go off, one of these two would have been killed and sent to the morgue. In this case, we're good. I would immediately start this back up, and they would have this 5 seconds. In this 5 seconds, I'd straighten this up or refill it with another card. Let's pause that. And then during their turn, like I said, you're going to draw back up to your cards here. You're going to straighten up your sustained guys because they get straightened every turn. And you're pretty much just waiting for everybody else. And then, like I said, once that is run out, you will reshuffle the supply deck, do it for 45 seconds, each player's turn, then 30. At the end, whoever has the most points is the winner. And there we go. That's Paramedics Clear. So as a disclaimer, I did receive this as a preview or as a review copy from the publisher, Smirk Dagger. Keep that in mind while I tell you my thoughts. So I'm going to immediately say that if you don't like real-time games, this is probably not the game for you. You already may have thought that after watching the summary or the overview, so that's probably not a big deal or surprise. Anyway, if you do like real-time games, this is probably one of my favorite real-time games. It's very entertaining, whereas I think some other games have a lot of arbitrary stuff to it. This has some arbitrary stuff because you need to go through all the actions, but it just makes sense, right? Because if you're driving an ambulance, you can't just be like, oh, we need a syringe, and it just pops in your hand. You got to run around and grab them and things like that, and that's kind of what the cards are simulating. So I do like that. With that hecticness or whatever, with it being crazy, right? I like it being 2 players more so than 3 and 4. Only because by the time you're done with your turn and the other player's going, you don't have much time to just clean up your area before it's your turn again, and I love that. Whereas in 3 and 4 players, there's a little bit of downtime between your turn and their turn, and the trading amongst players doesn't happen all that often. It does happen sometimes, but typically you're not going to see it happen quite a bit. So the trading's not a big deal, so you got downtime on other players' turns. I prefer it with 2 players. I think it's phenomenal, and I'm usually the person to say I like 3 to 4 players the best. So anyway, I will have to say that I like the app. The app is awesome. The sound effects on it are great and everything, and I love the fact that you have to end it yourself. You can't just let it go off like a lot of games where you're trying to do as much as you can in a minute, but then when it's done, you're like, all right, time's up. This one, you have to be paying attention. Once that last 7 seconds goes and it starts getting crazy, you're like, you know? It's really cool because you're trying to do that one last thing, but you got to make sure you have that 1 second to click the button. So I thought that was pretty cool. One thing I did not get to try as I was playing this out was the team variant that's in the book. Now, if I remember correctly, it allows you to basically trade 1 for 1. You have to sit diagonal to your teammate. It allows you to trade 1 for 1 with a card in their upgrade area. And that's cool, but I would have loved to see some kind of variant because with 4 players, it would work real well in a team variant where both teammates are going at the same time. So you may have to, maybe you can upgrade this up the length of the turn, maybe, I don't know, but you can have it to where you have to communicate. You're like, are you done? You done? You know, make sure, because otherwise if the timer goes out and no one hits it, or something. It would just be interesting to see it to where it's like 2 people are going, then 2 people are going, then 2 people are going. That would be really fun to me. So, but the app does work really well, and I like those sound effects. Anyway, I guess that's all my thoughts. I had them wrote down, and I wasn't paying attention. So I think it's phenomenal. It's very entertaining. What you're doing is very just like moving parts around and stuff like that, but I think it works very well for what it is. Again, I like it 2 players. If you don't really like the hecticness to it, play it more so with 4 players, and it kind of lowers that a little bit. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me at timjennette@gmail.com. Follow me on social media at the handle below. Check out my podcast called Meeple Core. You can comment below, and I'll get around to commenting back. And until next time, keep on rocking and rolling dice.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.